From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us midweek. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, in the wake of a deadly weekend crash that killed 2 local tow truck operators on I90, area first responders are renewing the call for safety on winter roads. As the investigation into Sunday's crash near Columbus continues, so far no potential charges in the deaths of 27-year-old Nick Visser of Billings and 28-year-old Casey Allen of Reed Point. Well, as family and friends continue to reel from their loss, Q2's Mitch Laggy reached out to Montana Highway Patrol and employees who worked with the victims. Their message for everyone: slowing down and moving over can save lives.
When's the last time that you saw an orange traffic cone? They're a ubiquitous part of driving all across the United States. After 2 tow truck drivers were struck and killed in an accident over the weekend, the men's employer, Hansers Automotive, wants all drivers to be aware of signs, flashing lights, and traffic cones to protect all first responders on the road.
People forget that behind all these lights are people working on the road. There's people out there, and they've got families, and everyone wants to go home safe.
According to AAA, 1 tow truck driver is killed every 6 days on average across the country. To protect themselves while they work, drivers put up a combination of temporary signs and cones at least 1,000 feet behind the accident. If you see cones, signs, or lights, move the car over and slow down.
I would encourage motorists that as soon as they see that impending hazard, or construction maintenance vehicle or highway patrol vehicle or fire truck, that they start preparing for that. Don't wait until the last minute to make your lane change or slow down, especially on the icy roads. That could be too late, and you could lose control right in the crash zone or where they're working, and then put everyone in a bad spot.
Hayter said all 50 states have some kind of move over law requiring motorists to give first responders extra space while they work. In Montana, on a road with a speed limit of 50 miles per hour or greater, the driver must move over if possible and reduce their speed by 20 miles per hour below the posted speed limit. The more people who are aware while driving, especially in treacherous winter conditions, the more people will arrive home safe.
We all want to go home at the end of our shifts. We all want to get back to our loving families, and that's, I think, again, when you see those lights on the side of the road, remember there's people behind them.
In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Now, the online fundraisers for both Allen and Visser continue to grow. At our last check before news time, the GoFundMe for Nick Visser's family had brought in more than $52,000 and Allen's right around $26,000. To find links to donate, visit ktvq.com. Well, this Friday, tow truck drivers, law enforcement, firefighters, and paramedics from all across Montana will gather to show respects and support for their fallen brothers. Here in Billings, emergency vehicles will stage on the rims beginning at 6 o'clock, and at 7, they will light up the night sky with their emergency lights and observe a moment of silence. A procession will follow starting at Highway 3 and continuing down 27th Street to Interstate 90. The vehicles will all exit on King Avenue, eventually making their way past Hansers' office on South Billings Boulevard. The rims will be reserved for first responders that evening, so all who would like to watch are asked to view from downtown or the West End area. You can also find more information on that procession route at ktvq.com. Well, tow truck drivers are among those honored today, along with law enforcement, paramedics, and firefighters. Congress made October 28th National First Responders Day in 2017. Now, these are the first people on the scene of crashes, fires, and other emergencies. The congressional resolution states they arrive in stressful situations. We talked with Lockwood Fire Chief John Staley today, who weighed in on even more concerns with COVID-19.
We want to protect the citizen first. We don't know whether they have it or they don't. Sometimes they don't either, especially the asymptomatic. So putting the mask on at least prevents some of that, or we hope it does. We want to protect those firefighters, so we try to provide as much personal protective equipment as them. We recently purchased an ultraviolet system so that we can decontaminate the ambulances and the rooms.
Now, Chief Staley says protocols are in place at the station, and firefighters and paramedics also ask questions about the possibility of COVID-19 symptoms when they arrive on scene. Well, 8 more COVID-19 related deaths to report across Montana tonight. Now, those include the latest, a Bighorn County man in his 50s, and 2 in Yellowstone County today, a man in his 50s and another man in his 80s. MTN now reports 350 deaths across Montana. That number's wrong. 350, the state's total cases of coronavirus surpassed 30,000, and right now there are just under 9,000 active cases. Well, it's the latest and what could be the last poll done before next week's election. Q2's Russ Riesinger joins us from MSU Billings, where the results of the Montana State poll, Mountain State poll, were revealed this afternoon. Russ.
Like the other polls that have been conducted, the 33rd edition of the Mountain States poll conducted here at Montana State University Billings shows that Montana's main races are extremely close.
We get the expected splits for self-identified Republicans and Democrats.
The results for the poll come from phone calls that MSUB political science students made between October 19th and the 24th with 546 likely Montana voters. Political science professor Jason Atkins directed the poll.
How accurate has it been traditionally?
Traditionally fairly accurate, I mean within a few points and definitely within the margin of error.
In Montana's battle for Senate, one of the most watched and expensive races in the country, Democrat Steve Bullock is narrowly on top of Republican incumbent Steve Daines, 48 to 47%, with 5% still undecided. The race for governor, tied. Both Mike Cooney and Greg Gianforte had 45%, but 9% were undecided. Republican Matt Rosendale led the poll in the race for Montana's lone House seat by a percentage point over Kathleen Williams. But the main takeaway that all 3 races are too close to predict.
Everything is essentially a dead heat or 1-point advantage.
The poll did show strong support for the legalization of marijuana, with 54% saying they've already voted for or will vote for it. Meanwhile, 52% said they oppose LR 130, which removes the authority of cities and counties to regulate firearms. Atkins says many respondents seem confused about the measure. As for the race for president, the poll shows Republican Donald Trump on top of Joe Biden, 52 to 47% in Montana. Atkins believes the turnout of young voters between the age of 18 and 34 will have a lot to do with how many of the races actually turn out.
You can really swing some of these close races, not only in Montana, but nationwide.
The poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 4.2%. On the campus of Montana State University Billings, I'm Russ Riesinger reporting for MTN News.
Thanks so much, Russ. Now, Yellowstone National Park is now doing some construction to make a big impact on its current and future employees. The plan is to improve employee housing for the roughly 400 workers who live in park year-round. Now, the housing improvements are much needed and will not only provide a better quality of life, but will entice employees to stay long-term. The plan has several phases, including the rehabilitation of historic buildings and renovating non-historic ones. The biggest phase currently underway is replacing 64 outdated trailers that are in poor condition. Some of these trailers date back to the 1960s and are being replaced by brand new, high-quality modular cabins. Now, those cabins are being constructed off-site and then assembled right there in the park. And the National Park Service expects all trailers to be replaced by 2021 and all renovations to be complete by 2023. And while we're on the topic, more news out of Yellowstone Park. It is that time of year again when many of its iconic locations and the roads leading to them close for the season. This coming Monday, the west, south, and east entrances will close to vehicle travel. The park's north entrance at Gardner and the northeast entrance through Mammoth Hot Springs will remain open. If you plan to drive to and in the park during the fall and winter, please have flexible travel plans and prepare for changing weather conditions. On the other hand, snowmobile and snow coach travel is set to begin Tuesday, December 15th. Up next on tonight's MTN 530 News, right here on Q2, down the stretch they come. We'll focus on Montana's race for governor and what the 2 candidates hope to accomplish in this final week. And in sports, Twin Power will meet our athletes of the week, 2 brothers who deliver the sting for White Sulphur Springs.
And coming up in weather, now that we're heading into November, we're finally leaving winter behind and heading to more autumn-like weather. How good will it get? We'll have the answers coming up.